Hi, my name is Jessie V, and I'm here to tell you about all the creepy and strange things in this world. There's a very weird grave at Evergreen Cemetery in Vermont. It's one of the very few graves in the world that actually has a window that you can peer into. The story goes that back in the 1800s, there was this man named Timothy Clark Smith, and he had this irrational and terrible fear of being buried alive. And back in the day before modern medicine, this was actually a very common thing that happened. People would literally wake up under the ground in a coffin and wouldn't be able to get out. So obviously he didn't want this to happen to him, so he made sure that he made a grave that had a window in it. So if people saw his face down there, they would know he was alive. He was also buried with a bell in case he needed to call for help. He died on Halloween of 1893, and no, he never woke up again. And to this day, this grave still has a window, but it's completely dirty, so you can no longer see inside. And you can find more videos like this on my YouTube channel. Guys, okay, so I called 2 cursed numbers over the past few days, and you guys have been asking me, has anything weird happened? This morning when I woke up, I had this notification on my phone that I got a voicemail from an unknown number at 3 in the morning. So instantly I was like, oh no, what if like Wrinkles the Clown called me back or something? So I went to check my voicemails and nothing was there. Then I went to my caller history. It showed no one had called me. So why on the screen of my phone did it say that I got an unknown call at 3 in the morning and they left a voicemail when nothing was there? So either my phone is playing tricks on me, or it's not really anything, or it's the cursed numbers. So just a warning, if you ever call cursed numbers, you're gonna be paranoid forever. Hey guys, so today I really wanted to show you this ghost that my sister found in her Snapchat photo back in 2016. Her and her best friend went to this abandoned brickworks building in Ontario that was built in the early 1900s. The buildings were dusty and dark and there was graffiti everywhere, and my sister decided to take this Snapchat photo while they were there. Now, the ironic thing about the photo she took was that the caption was "No ghosts yet, LOL," because she did not see the ghost in the photo that she took. But if you look closely, standing in the back corner, there is this creepy figure with long white arms. You can see its head. It almost looks like it's wearing a black cloak. Now, about a year later, we went back there to explore, and it's such an eerie place to be and walk around. There's like red handprints all over the buildings. It definitely is an extremely dangerous place, so I would not recommend anyone going here. Hi guys, okay, so since we were on the topic of ghost photos, I thought I would show you guys one more that I found that was taken of me back in 2015. So my friend was over, we were both bored, so we decided to go out and do like a photo shoot thing. We were driving down the road trying to find a good location for our photo shoot when we passed this old abandoned barn. Now this barn was like half collapsed, the windows were broken. We thought it would be a really cool like location to take these pictures. We took like hundreds of photos, and when I was looking through them later, I saw this one photo of me where in the window you could see this creepy like figure. It almost looks like this woman who has like a white cloth over her head. It looks like she's standing in the barn like peering through the window at me. And who knows, this could have just been like a really weird reflection, but it still haunts me to this day, so I had to show you guys. What do you think? This was the day that someone attempted to kidnap my sister. So my family and I went on a trip to Paris back in 2014, I believe. And on one of the days, we really wanted to go see the catacombs. And I don't know if this is normal, but there was a super long line there, and they told us we had to wait for about 2 to 3 hours. So to pass the time, we were sort of just exploring, walking around the streets, looking at stuff. And my sister and I were probably walking about 10 meters in front of my parents. Now, this was a very crowded area. People were everywhere. We were like a can of sardines or something. And suddenly this man in the crowd grabs my sister's arm and starts pulling her through the crowd of people. And I was the only one closest to her, so I started screaming, going after this man. I even started kicking him. And I was so worried that I was gonna lose her in this crowd. Well, my dad saw us screaming, he ran over and he threw this guy across the road. I'm not even kidding. The man ran away, and I just cannot believe that happened. I wanted to show you guys this time that I caught an actual ghost on camera at a cemetery. My friend and I went to this place called the Boston Mills Cemetery, and there's so many graves there that are from the 1800s. We were exploring and filming there for about half an hour. I didn't see anything really creepy, so we decided to go home. I ended up uploading all of that footage to my YouTube channel, didn't think anything was wrong. About a month later, I got a DM from somebody that told me there was a ghost in the graveyard standing behind us. Now at first, I didn't believe her really, but I went to the exact timestamp that she told me, and there, standing behind my friend Matt, was this ghost. It almost looks like he's wearing a suit, he has like a white face, and he's just standing there behind the fence. And what's creepy is that there was no one there that day, guys. There was absolutely nobody. And to this day, the image of this guy still haunts me. We went back there one day to find him, but that'll be part 2. This is part 2 to the previous video about how we caught that ghost in the cemetery. A year later, my husband and I decided to go back to see if we could find him. But the second I stepped foot in this cemetery, I felt so sick and really weird. So I immediately told my husband that I wanted to go home and I did not want to be there. It was raining so hard on the way home, it was storming, and the whole way back, I felt like we were being followed. That night when I went to bed, I had the weirdest dream of my life. The dream was that I was lying in my bed and all around my room there were these spirits walking towards my bed, and they were all standing around the bed just looking at my husband and I. Well, in the morning, I woke up to my husband yelling for me. When I went downstairs, his face was pale, and he told me that when he went to go back to the car, he saw that all the doors of the car were open. All the windows were turned down. Even the sunroof was open, and it made me think that spirits must have followed us home. This is a warning about a woman named Soap Sally. There's a legend in some regions of Appalachia about this creepy old woman who walks around the town at night looking for children who have run away from home. If she finds one, she grabs them by the hand and leads them towards her house in the woods, and nobody ever sees them again. Here's the creepiest part. People say she turns the children into soap. Some even say she makes the soap resemble children's hands, and when she's done, they say she sells the soap to the parents of the missing children. So parents in that area used to use this story to scare their children. So if their kids were out too late, they would say things like, "If you don't get home before dark, Soap Sally will get you." Black-eyed children have been visiting people's houses on Halloween. There are literally warnings out there saying that if your doorbell rings late at night on Halloween, like midnight, maybe 10 or 11 p.m., you should not answer it. People who have answered it will see 2 children standing on their porch with black eyes. They will beg you to allow them to come into your house, but you cannot let them. Instead, close the door and go hide somewhere in your house. They will start banging and pounding on your door, begging to let them in. Just ignore it. They are basically creatures that resemble children between the ages of 6 and 16 with pale skin and black eyes. And yeah, really bad things happen when you let them into your home, especially on Halloween. This is why people used to be afraid of Tickle Me Elmo. Now, this toy came out in 1996, and I don't know about you guys, but this was a huge part of my childhood. And as fun as this toy was for some people, it also came with a lot of glitches. There are hundreds of stories on the internet about people who have had bad experiences with Tickle Me Elmo. It would constantly turn on by itself at night, so you would literally be sleeping and hear Elmo laughing in your closet. The batteries would die very quickly, and Elmo's laugh would go very, very deep and creepy. Some people complained that this doll would end up in different places around their house. Other people say that Elmo was saying different things than what he was programmed to say. So many people back then were returning their Tickle Me Elmo, and thankfully I didn't really experience any of this when I was a kid, but please let me know if you did.
So I'd say around a month ago, I was dancing in my kitchen and I decided to record it. And I was dancing like in front of my front door. Now, my front door has like 2 glass things, and it's just brick walls right next to it. There's no flags, no fabric, like nothing. Not even trees or leaves. Like, there's literally nothing by my front door, except for rocks. Anyway, so I was watching the video, and I noticed something very, very creepy behind me. I'll replay the video in a second if you didn't catch it. But y'all, there was absolutely no reasonable explanation for that at all. There was absolutely nothing set up by my front door. There's no flags by my front door. Those are by my window. There's no jackets. There's absolutely nothing. So I thought it was very creepy. So let me know what you guys think that is, because this is very short but very, very creepy. So my grandma was younger. She lived like right by a cemetery. Like, her house was technically like in the cemetery, but that's not the point of the video. So one day she was driving with her family past like these cows and all this wildlife. And she remembers looking at one of the cows, and it had human eyes. This right here is what, like, a cow's eye looks like, you know, just black and then the color of their eye. Well, my grandma said it literally was a human eye. Like, look at my eyes, that's the kind of eyes this cow had. And for some reason, that memory has just stuck with her for the rest of her life, and it has stuck with me, too. She told me when I was, like, 7 that story, and it's 8 years later, and I still remember it. My guess was that it could have been a skinwalker, but I think skinwalkers are, like, more deformed when they take form of, like, an animal or something. But I don't know, y'all. So last night I was in my room watching YouTube. And it was pretty late since we didn't have school today. So everybody in my house was asleep except for me. So I'm just sitting in my room and I hear my Alexa downstairs go off. And she starts talking about a fucking murder. Like some murder scene or some shit. I don't know. It was something about a murder. So I got really creeped out, so as soon as she started talking, I started walking towards the basement. I know, not the fucking smartest idea. But once I get closer to the basement, it just shuts off. So I was like, okay, a little creepy. So I'm looking downstairs, and we have like an electronic fireplace, not real fire. And I'm just looking down there, and then the fucking fireplace turns on. The fireplace? You need like a remote for that shit, bro. So I turn around and I start sprinting to my room, and then the Alexa turns on again and continues about the murder story. Yeah, and that's all that happened last night, but it only gets worse. Yo, I'm literally laying in my fucking room. This has never fucking happened. Shaking. What the fuck? What the fuck? I'm fucking shaking. What the fuck? This story sounds like it's straight out of a fucking movie, so get ready. Growing up, my grandma had a very paranormal childhood. Whether it would be poltergeists, ghosts, spirits, whatever. Well, one day her family decided they were going to go on a little road trip to Wisconsin and stay in a cabin in the middle of the woods. And her whole family was really excited. It was going to be a great trip. So they get to the cabin and nothing seems weird and they're having a great time. Well, that night they all get to bed and they all wake up at the exact same time. So they all look through the windows and they see a bright light coming in through the cabin windows. Reminder, they're in the middle of the woods. My grandma said it was one of the brightest lights she has ever seen in her life. A few seconds later, they hear pounding on their roof. So they all get to the floor and they huddle together and pray to God. The pounding and the lights seemed to last for hours, but eventually it stopped. When they all got up, they smelled gas like somebody had set their cabin on fire. And they all smelt it. Eventually the smell went away and they went to bed. But when they all woke up the next morning, they had the same dream and left immediately. So last night I went to bed reasonably early. I did my homework, I played Among Us, and I went to bed. That's like literally all I did last night. Well, like 20 minutes ago, my sister asked me, she was like, hey, were you in the bathroom crying at like 2 a.m.? And I was like, no, I wasn't even up that late. That wasn't me. And she was like, no, like be dead ass with me. Like I heard you crying in the bathroom last night. I said, I swear on my life, I was not in the bathroom crying at 2 a.m. One, I wasn't even up that late, and two, I have no reason to cry. And she looks at me and she goes, well, I heard somebody crying in the bathroom last night at like 2 a.m. And it sure as hell was not me. So the ghosts that are fucking haunting my house now are crying for no fucking reason. Get a life, bitch. This is very short, but very, very creepy. So a while back around 3 a.m., I was asleep and so was my dad, but my sister was awake. So she's just laying in her bed watching YouTube, doing whatever. And then the power randomly cuts out. Which was really weird because it wasn't raining, it wasn't windy, like it was just a nice summer night and the power just randomly went out. So she's sitting in her bed and she hears footsteps start coming upstairs. So she like goes under her covers and she's just like listening for the footsteps. The footsteps like keep getting closer to our room and they eventually get like right here, but then they just stop. And around 2 minutes after the footsteps stopped, the power went back on. So my sister just went the fuck back to bed. And it only gets worse. Every time I press fucking record, this little hoe stops. Come on now. I'll sing for you. Sometimes I don't wanna be happy. Don't hurt it against me if I'm dying. Let me be. See? Why? The weird thing is it doesn't happen when I look. Like if I look, it's not flickering, but on camera it flickers. It only. Sometimes I don't wanna be happy. Don't hold it against me if I don't let me be. Hey, come on, put on a show. I guess I really like Dixie. Okay, y'all like Dixie? Okay, I can fuck with y'all. Sometimes I don't wanna be happy. Don't hold it. I know a lot of y'all are not gonna believe this story, but my grandma told me that she's a kind woman. So my grandma used to live in a very haunted townhouse with her kids and husband. And a lot of paranormal stuff would happen, but she said this was the scariest one. So one day my grandma's getting home from work. So my grandma gets home from work and she opens the door, and the first thing she notices is there's like a 3-foot thing, like 3-foot tall thing of black smoke. And there was no fire or anything, like it was literally just like 3 feet of black smoke coming from the floor. Now the second thing she noticed, which is, it's hard for me to believe too, I'm not gonna lie, it's hard for me to believe this one. But she said that all of the furniture in her house was upside down. The couches, the tables, like everything. I said, whoa, Grandma, what's going on with you? But yeah, that's all that happened that one day, but it only gets worse.